If you regret certain choices that you've made around food and you're not sure what to do about it, this episode is for you. My name is Dara Tomasson, and this is the podcast called Love Yourself Thin, episode 242, Regret and Weight Loss. Today, I had to record this episode. I had back-to-back calls with our group program plus the office hours. There is so much goodness that came from these calls that I was thrilled to be sharing them with you. A lot of us feel like weight loss is this quiet, shameful place where you're the only one, you make all these mistakes. The more that we can be talking about it and opening it up, the more relaxed we can become, the more hopeful, the more that we can really change. I wanted to share this concept about weight loss, food regrets, and what a ripple effect they can have on us unless we actually start seeing what that is and then making those changes. I want to start off by telling a story about my client who actually raised her hand today and said, you know what? I've had some really great epiphanies with being here on this call, and I want to go further. This client was overweight while she was raising her children, and she had a lot of regret about that. She felt really bad for her children because she thought, oh, I don't want to embarrass my children. I don't want them to be disappointed in me. I don't want to feel like I failed as a mom. But there were so many different situations, so many different circumstances, and even the way that she was raised with all of the food noise and the example that was before her was really, really challenging. She kept overeating, but the whole time she was raising her children, she would do everything with them. So she would go swimming, she would go camping, she would go doing all the different activities regardless of her body. Years go by, she's still struggling with her weight, tried all the different things, finally listens to me on my Instagram account and truly resonates with this message. You're not broken, you just have these really unhealthy thinking patterns and examples of weight loss in your life. So we start working together and it makes such a huge difference. Now she's lost a substantial amount of weight and had some really insightful conversations with her grown children. They really encouraged her and said, we had a wonderful childhood. You were a wonderful mother. It's wonderful to see that you've done all this work with taking the weight off. The interesting part about this client is that she's put back on 20 of the 80 pounds that she took off. And she has been struggling with this 20 pounds for over a year. So she comes to today's call. She's pretty regular in the program and realizes that her boys gave her permission to put some weight back on. Now, there's a lot of different thoughts about that. So maybe she feels like they want her to be less weight or more weight, whatever. There's lots of different thoughts about it. But what she realizes was just so much regret for being overweight when her kids were younger. She feels like she failed them, like I said. But this is the part where I really want to dive into what does regret mean and how can we turn that into a source of power for us versus a source of regret and difficulty. So if we take the word regret and look at it, it comes from the word greet, which means, hey, I see you. And then it goes into regretter, which is a French word for to regret, which also means to bewail the dead. Now, I wanted to think about this idea, to bewail the dead. So what does that actually mean? If we look up the word oh my goodness, bewail, which is Bewail. It's not a word that we use very often, but bewail means to express great regret, disappointment, or bitterness over something. So he bewailed the fact that heart trouble was slowing him down. It's a lament or it's a bemoan. It can be really devastating when you see someone dying, and that wailing and lamentation express a deep sorrow. So when we have regret and we see that, so there's the other thing that's really interesting about the word regret is there's the verb, which is to feel sad, repentant, or disappointed, something that has happened or being done, especially a loss or missed opportunity. And then there's the noun, a feeling of sadness, repentance, disappointment. When we look at a verb, that's an action word. So we're actively regretting, we're actively being sad, we're actively being repentant, we're actively being disappointed. It's one of the things that happens in our brain is if it's constantly turning, it's churning and saying, I regret it. That was so terrible. What kind of mom was I? What kind of message did I give my boys? That negative thinking can cause these ruts, these thinking ruts in our head. Just like when I used to teach electricity in grade 5 and 6, we would do our circuits. We would put the wiring so that we would light the light or get the little fan to turn. My students learned electrical circuits and how if the connections are good, we will have electricity. If we disrupt the circuit, it won't work. We've wired our brain over and over this regret of feeling sad, feeling repentant, feeling disappointed. If we keep going on, we're going to stay in that place. What does that have to do with weight loss? I'm a nonconformist weight loss coach. In fact, I'm really here to say stop the madness, stop doing the keto, stop doing Weight Watchers. If we just keep trying to get a new system, but the system is broken, it will never work for long term. Are there really good things about keto? Yeah. And I just recently listened to an amazing interview with Dr. Benjamin Bickman, and I can put it actually here in the notes. So many good pieces of information about keto. Is there some good things about Weight Watchers? Oh, I don't know. There's good things about all the there's all something that you can take away from it. But if we don't see what's really going on, no amount of tips, tricks, or strategies is going to help us. Okay? If we have a broken system, we try to just like duct tape it, it's not going to work. Let's go back to the rudimentary. There's 2 reasons why we're overweight. Overhunger, which means we eat more often than our body needs, and overdesire, which means we're eating the flour and sugar. When we're turning to food that often, what we're really doing is we're distracting ourselves from what's really going on. Let's go back to my example of my client. She lost this weight. She feels really good about herself. And then she has this difficult conversation with her grown children. They say, you know what? We know you're not going to gain all the way back. And so something in her brain says, I need to figure out how I can resolve this. So is she looking for external validation? Is she wanting to still have this connection of not being too successful? Or maybe they could have been more proud of her. This is where things get really muddy. And this is where I'm going to share a few thoughts, and then I'm going to have you spend some time with yourself. As my client comes to me and says, I had this light bulb moment. I had this realization that I felt a lot of regret for being overweight as a mom, and I felt embarrassed. Then she doesn't work through it. When I was teaching quilting, I would say to the women in my class, I'd say, listen, I'm the president of the Perfectionist Recovery Program. We'd all kind of laugh. Then afterwards, they would say to me secretly, they'd come up, they'd say, is that actually a real thing? Do you actually have a Perfectionist Recovery Program? When I became a life coach and I became certified and I coached women full time, I had 23 one-on-one clients. I had a group program of 20 women. I was working with women for over a year, and I developed the program. One of the issues, which I didn't understand, And I'm so grateful that I understand now because I truly have suffered from perfectionism for a very long time. The part that's really hard about perfectionism is, and Brene Brown talks about perfectionism being like a protective shield. If I look perfect, if I do everything perfectly, then nobody can judge me. And as kids, we really needed to be accepted in our families. If we were rejected, it really was death because if they kick you out of your home, you don't have a way to take care of yourself. You don't know how to buy your own groceries or make your own money. You were at the will of those people who were taking care of you. So there was perfectionism. If I was perfect, then they couldn't reject me. If I procrastinated, if I waited for me not to make a decision, then that was safety, right? Because then they will just make the decision or someone else will make the decision and they'll get in trouble. So if I procrastinate long enough, I'll be safe. Or what about people pleasing? That's another big one I had was I'll just do all of it. I'll just take care of everybody. Another client today said, I've been taking care of everybody else. And she's now in her 60s. She second guesses herself all the time because she has always been looking for external validation. But because when she was a little girl, she said, I feel like I was taking care of my parents. I was being more of a parent to my parents than they were to her. And so she's always felt a little uncomfortable thinking, I think I'm a little over my head. But because that was just such a pattern, she just learned how to push through all of that discomfort. So, how does this have to do with weight loss? And why is this such a big deal? If we didn't learn how to emotionally regulate, if we didn't learn how to feel regret or feel disappointment or feel bitterness, if we didn't know that we were just allowed to feel those things, it didn't mean anything about us, then we wouldn't need to go to the food to overfill ourselves. Because food dampens the noise. Food distracts us. And food was a better coping strategy than drugs or alcohol or pornography. I'm going to be talking about acceptable buffering in an episode coming up. But this is what I wanted to share in my parting words for you. When you look at your life and your strategies of survival, they probably had something to do with procrastinating, people pleasing, or perfectionism. And that's okay. But until you slow down and start seeing these patterns and owning them, no matter how hard you try at weight loss, you're not going to be able to keep it off. Those old negative coping strategies of using food will just come back. This is my quest, my purpose to tell you over and over, you're not wrong. You're not bad. You're not smart enough. You just didn't get the instructions. You just didn't get the whole picture. Our society is terrible at it because the diet industry wants you to keep coming back. They don't want you to learn how to regulate your emotions and not react with ice cream. They want you to keep eating that stuff so that you keep coming back. And I don't mean to be a conspiracy theorist, but it is the truth. The more you become your own boss, the more you understand the real deal here, the more you can change. That is why the women inside my program who truly embrace these tools and finally let themselves see what's really going on get results. They learn why they keep putting the food in their mouth when they're not hungry. And they learn how to just feel the feelings. They learn how to feel the discomfort. And they just process that emotion and they become powerful. So if you love to save energy and to be efficient, it's okay. Then check out my program. So in the show notes, I will have the interview with Dr. Benjamin Bickman about keto. And there's some great benefits. And there's lots of amazing tools out there. But the most amazing tool of all is your brain. If you don't learn how to use your brain properly, and that's what I do inside my program, then you're like they say in the science world, you only use 10% of your brain. Let's start maximizing all of our brain. That's what we do. I can't wait to help you. Take care. If you know what you should do, but you can't figure out why you keep falling short, that's the dilemma, isn't it? You have all the knowledge, you know the steps, but something keeps you from following through. That's exactly what we resolve in Love Yourself Thin, my lifetime membership for quilters and creatives, because you don't have a knowledge problem, you have a thinking problem, and that's what we're here to solve. When you join Love Yourself Thin, you get lifetime access to the tools to help you understand why you do what you do so you can finally create permanent weight loss. No more frustration, no more wondering what's wrong with you, just real transformation from the inside out. You can learn more and join at www.daratomasson.com. This is where the real work happens. Can't wait to see you there.